Today we're covering Arkham City. But before I talk about Arkham Origins, I think I need to pull this back out here. Maybe, I don't know. Perfect. So, I liked the story quite a bit, actually. In fact, one of the most common things I heard people talk about positively was the narrative. This is something I've talked about a lot lately, especially as we were going through the Dragon Age games. In fact, those of you who actually follow these little announcement videos, or not ruminations, or whatever the hell we end up branding these damn things as, you probably noticed that I've been talking about this a few times. In fact, several of you have even responded to me when it's like you seek out more story than gameplay. And that's kind of the first thing I wanted to talk about, because I really did used to be the same way. And then what ended up happening is two things. First, I got sick of what I mentally think of as the grind loop, which is actually like 6 and 7 different things, but you get the idea. Bad gameplay, put simply. I got sick of bad gameplay, especially in RPGs, to the point where it was just like, I got tired of it. It doesn't matter how good the story is at a certain point if I'm getting really, really irritated playing the game. And so my tolerance for bad gameplay just kind of ground down over the years. But the other thing, and this is significant too, is I get introduced to games that have good gameplay. Now, obviously, that's how that started. You know, I cut my teeth on Mega Man, for God's sakes. But what I mean by that is I started seeing games that had a story focus that had good gameplay. And all of a sudden I realized what I really wanted was not good gameplay or good story, but, you know. So, my tolerance levels just kind of went down. And I know that I get a lot of hackles from a lot of my viewers for coming down so hard on games that have bad gameplay. Because of the fact that those games have good story, or vice versa. I don't really have anything else to add to there. I just kind of wanted to share my perspective there, a little bit of an olive branch to people, because it's not like I don't get it. Everybody values different stuff, right? Everybody values different things. We were just talking recently. It's easy to understand why someone would have a positive memory of a game, even if they acknowledge that that game is not a good game, or a good show, or a good movie, right? Because there's so many variables that go into that. Maybe you're going through something in your real life at the time, good or bad. You know, maybe you're going through something bad and you need something to cheer yourself up, or maybe you're going to do something good and you're already in a good mood. Maybe you're doing it with a friend, or next to a friend, or or a family member, or a loved one. Maybe you were doing it, I don't know, like alongside something else that you really enjoyed. If I could share a little anecdote, I used to think that Asheron's Call was a good game. And then one day, I had this little TV. I think I've told you about this. I had this little TV. It was like this big, dinky little thing. You pick it up with one hand. It actually had a handhold and everything. And I remember this distinctly. This would have been about 2002, 2001, somewhere around there. And I got that TV and got a stand and plunked it down right next to my computer so I could watch TV while playing video games. Or more accurately, so I could watch TV while playing Asheron's Call. And the thought crossed my head of, oh, this is so much better. And then I just sort of stalled as I realized what I had thought. I was like, wait, why does this make the game better? Oh God, I don't enjoy the game. I mean, don't mistake me. There's really, really good parts to Asheron's Call. But just running around on Tusker Isle hunting for hours on end? Actually, I don't think Tusker Isle was out at that point in time, but you get the point. I think it was the Op Planes or Op BSD, something like that. Anyways, point being, yeah, that was kind of an eye-opener for me. And ever since, I've just kind of been on the eye for that kind of a thing. Some of you may remember when I was going through Ace Combat 7 recently, I actually ended up shutting off the stream during the naval mission after the second time where I screwed up. That was on me. I screwed up. But the thing is, what I ended up doing to get through that is I just pulled up a video on the side, and I was watching the video while doing the mission, and all of a sudden the mission was a lot better. Stuff like that, right? Thing is, I don't think the game gets credit for that, but that's just my take on it. And again, there's nothing wrong with having those kind of memories or that kind of association. I'm not trying to call anybody out here, just giving my perspective and why I feel the way I do. It runs into something else I've run into a lot, which is the your opinion is invalid thing. Now, thankfully, I don't get a lot of that from my stream viewers because they're generally awesome, except for you. But You know who you are. But, check out, they have watermelon flavor now. It's weird. Um, but I have run into people who pretty much insist that, well, because, how do I explain this? Because they like apples and I like oranges, that my opinion is invalid. I think I just talked about this with Ace Combat 5, I want to say. And I just keep running into that. I run into it right about as much as I get accused of being an IGN player. And if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. Don't worry, I'm not really super bothered by that kind of thing, not at this point in my career. It's just funny how frequent that is, even at this very point in time. My sister says it's a good sign. She says it's a sign that my show is actually, getting bigger again, that my audience has started growing again. Now that we've pulled the plug on Ruminations completely and moved on to, well, the thing that the show's been focused on for 5 years at this point. Excuse me. The other thing I want to talk about, though, about Assassin's Creed Origins. Excuse me. About Batman Arkham Origins. Too many games have Origins in the title. We got Dragon Age Origins, we got Assassin's Creed Origins, we got Batman Arkham. About Arkham Origins, Jesus Christ, is the fact that I feel so bad for those developers, because it's so easy to see the kernel of a good game underneath an unpolished, buggy game. We gave 7 separate bug negatives. And those are the only ones we could, prove rather definitively were bugs. I'm sure there were others. And it's just, oh my god. And you might, now, part of that's the PC port. Not all of it, but part of it is the PC port. Most of it is, of course, all the behind-the-scenes stuff I've already talked about. And then they made Gotham Knights. But anyways, the reason I'm bringing that up, though, is because you might think that's a record for how many bugs we've given a single game. And you'd be close. It's the second most we've ever given. The only one that beats it is Dawn of War 1. Which, if you remember, I had to actually adjust my BIOS in order to get that game running. So, I don't think we're going to pass that anytime soon. That's the other thing I want to talk about, though. I've talked all the time, I'm a spreadsheet kind of guy, right? I just mentioned that a couple days ago. And so, you look at something like Cyberpunk or Skyrim and you think, that's the buggiest game ever. No. No, those things get, attention for being buggy, memed on for being buggy, and there's a lot of glitches that go through it, but those aren't actually very buggy games. Now, when you start running into games not running, or turbo crashing, or having multiple game breaker bugs and soft lock bugs, I was talking to my brother-in-law about this just last night, and he actually started Arkham Origins and ran into one of the bugs we got fortunate enough to not run into, one of the game breakers. And in case you don't know what that means, a game breaker means you can no longer continue the game. For some reason or another, the game is just like, nope. In this case, there's a door that can't open. And if you run into that bug, that's it. That's your run. You have to start the game over and hope you don't get the bug next time. There's actually more than one of those in Arkham Origins. That's a buggy game. And it's a damn shame, because I can absolutely see why people enjoy this game. And I'm looking forward to playing City next. I'm also a little nervous. Maybe City isn't as good as I remember. I don't know. There's only one way to find out, and that's to never eat pumpernickel again, which is okay, because I don't even like pumpernickel. I mean, does anybody actually like pumpernickel? It feels